should be here tomorrow.
Doesn't mean I don't know your name, it's just funny to me.
You know, it's just that random guy.
Yeah, it's that random guy. I just happen to know that. How is Jordan?
So whenever we're buying,
Are those blueberries? I can like smell them.
Oh, it's a Pop-Tart. This is my lunch.
I don't know. I can smell them.
Do you have time to
say
eat?
breakfast?
No lunch. I haven't had time to
We
eat.
are officially calling this meeting to order at 4:02 p.m. Welcome back, friends. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started with attendance. Senator Hart. Here. Thank you. Senator Shroff. Here. Thank you. Senator Waldekinen. Here. Thank you. Senator Wing. Present. Thank you. Senator Jermenci. Here. Thank you. Senator Victor Wynn.
Yeah.
Thank you. Senator Bryant.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Roberts.
here.
Thank you. Senator Rivera. It's also possible people may be on Zoom. Cool. Senator Goma.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Narala.
Present.
Thank you. Senator Berhanu.
Present.
Thank you. Senator Tapp.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Mendez Martinez.
Here.
Thank you. Oh, you're sitting over there today. Threw me off. Senator Destin. Senator Destin. Senator Zigweed.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Mesta.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Mueller. Senator Mueller. Senator Parikh.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Blanchard. Senator Blanchard. Senator Goff.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Speltz.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Roiger.
Here.
Thank you. First Mate Andry.
Here.
Thank you. Speaker Novak, that's me. President Zelmer.
Here.
Thank you. Vice President Ibrahim.
Here.
Thank you. All right, so I know it's not listed on our presentation, but we had an addition to presentations. We're going to hear from Provost Hood very briefly. You can start whenever you're ready. Please step up over at the podium, or if you have a presentation, you can plug it in back over there.
I'm gonna get it up on the screen,
Oh.
so I'll be in a second.
Amazing. Wait until you're ready.
I'll get it pulled up, but you can start. Hey, IT, are they able to hear me in the background? Can I be able to share my screen? I don't know if you can get me access to that. You want to start going over it and then I'll...
Okay. Good afternoon, Senate. Thank you for allowing this last-minute addition. The Office of the Provost, in collaboration with the Division of Student Success and Integrated Analytics, we are bringing forth a proposal to the university community to go to a no-exam week semester. For the past decade, we've had an exam week format in which the final week of the semester is totally scheduled different from the previous 15 semesters. That means you've been going to class, let's just say on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then maybe your exam is now on Tuesday, and your entire week gets rearranged just for you to take your final test of the semester. And in many of those cases, you're not even taking exams. You may have projects. You may be meeting with your professors to kind of have that summative interview for the semester. And you're having to change your work schedules. You have to upend your life just for this one final week. We feel that the current schedule, it disrupts the days and meeting times for classes the last week or the finals week of every semester. And as a result, finals for classes are often on a different day and time or in a different place than a normal class meeting. The current system of rotating final week schedule is labor intensive, causing hardship and confusion, often because unanticipated conflicts between a particular student's exam time and places. The change in schedule between the remainder of the academic term and the final week's exam week is not friendly for students. Many students need to make alternative arrangements to work, childcare, and etc. to accommodate these exam schedules. In lieu of the current semester schedule that excludes an exam week schedule that is scheduled differently, the Office of the Provost and the Division of Student Success and Integrated Analytics proposes a straightforward academic semester schedule when the exam week schedule would follow the regular class schedule for the entire semester. Professors would still complete their assignments, individual and or class group feedback meetings, and they will that they would traditionally have performed during exam week. The proposed change is less prone to problems and conflicts for everyone. In this proposed model, it is important to emphasize that professors should not switch their class meeting dates and location, as this would create problems for that we're attempting to solve for. In the proposed model, problems, scheduling rooms, proctoring exams, and exam overlap should be alleviated. It's our simple proposal. We're just saying that whatever the schedule is for the first 15 weeks of the semester, it should remain that last week of the semester. Professors will still have the flexibility on giving projects, whether they want to do grading that week, whether they want to have individual meetings with you, whether they want to give an exam. They may now spread the exam over 2 days or 3 days instead of that one big exam day that gives everybody a lot of anxiety. That's what we're proposing. I would welcome your feedback and questions.
Do we have any questions? Any questions or feedback? President Summer.
Thank you for bringing this forward. I know when we first chatted briefly about it, as someone who works off campus, I've really struggled with, all the college students who work at the Y with me, we really struggle with finals week because all of our schedules change. We're all trying to find subs for certain hours. I also think that maintaining a main schedule would allow non-traditional students who work off campus, students with kids to be able to really plan ahead. Also, in my experience, off-campus jobs do not come up with a finals week schedule like on-campus jobs do. So I think that it'd be useful for that. I look forward to hearing what other people say. Also, from what I've heard from other groups around campus, is that this is kind of rare to have a finals schedule or exam week schedule. A lot of universities just have a normal class schedule for that. So I think that it would be nice just to be able to plan further in advance, not have 1 week that's complete outlier to the rest of your weeks. I yield.
Thank you very much. Senator Wing.
I'm going to echo a very similar sentiment. I used to be an off-campus senator, and I talked to my constituents. That was one of their biggest concerns, is trying to get to campus in a time when they aren't usually here. All of them are working off-campus jobs, trying to provide for themselves. And I think this is going to be the best for all of our constituencies. It'll also allow professors who often don't have an exam time to actually interact with their students and sum up their semester properly. So I'm 100% on board with this. This is incredible.
Thank you very much. Senator Bryant.
I agree with this, and I'm standing behind it because some professors only give you the week before the final to tell you when the final will be, and then parking on finals day is ridiculous. So.
Thank you very much. Senator Roiger.
Could you talk about the process of implementing this, or what the process of changing to this kind of schedule would look like?
Yeah, so we're taking it through all of the campus shared governance processes now. It will be introduced at the April meeting confer for all of the campus bargaining units. They will have an opportunity to provide feedback in May. And at that time, we will make a final recommendation to the president. And the hope is that if we get positive feedback and support, that we would implement this next fall, which means that when you come back, for those of you who aren't graduating, when you come back for the fall semester, we will have a regular 16-week semester, and it will just flow normally. And that last week would be the time that professors could or could not give exams. So there would be no other major changes.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other questions for Senator Nirala?
Thank you so much for this. I definitely do support this. My only question would be that I know the current schedule as it stands is that a student does not have more than 2 finals in a single day. How has the administration maybe talked with other faculties, other members of approaching this and continuing this, that students don't have multiple finals on a single day? If that happens, maybe there are special circumstances or anything in that manner.
That is a good question, and that is something that the faculty association that they raised, and we're looking to work with them on suggestions and ideas on how we would, mitigate that. It will probably happen, but I think we need to see how often it happens and then come up with some strategies to assist those students in maybe getting alternative dates for their exams. As I understand it now, currently with the current exam schedule, some students still end up with multiple exams on that same day. So we would probably look at that policy or that practice and what we're using now for that and how we help students alleviate that problem and use those same principles.
Thank you very much. Any final questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you so much for coming in and talking with us. Amazing. All right, we're now going to move into the period of open forum. This is the opportunity for any senators or members of the gallery to get up and say anything that they would like to bring to the attention of student government. So, do we have anyone for open forum? I see John Wolcock.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I am pulling up something real quick here in terms of the budget stuff. This is just to give you a little bit of update in terms of where you are with the student fees that come up. And so I know some people are kind of like, they were looking at the budgets from last week going, oh my gosh, almost 9%. That looks crazy. But when you think about it, one of the things that we look at from an overall perspective is the overall student fees package. So what you passed last week were 2 of the 5 student fees that you vote on, and this week you're going to vote on the other 3. And so just to give you some perspective, what I wanted to share with you are some numbers. You don't need to see this because it's just it's a spreadsheet that helps do some calculations for me. But I've shared this with executive leadership too. So last week you paid oh, you are going to pull it up. There you go. Perfect. So what you're looking at is the overall student fee comparison. So this is the sheet that right under the memo that gives a narrative. This is the top sheet that the president and Dr. Jones see when the full recommendation packet goes to them. And it shows what the overall student fees are. And so last week you voted to increase the student activity fee from $9.37 to $10.21 a credit hour, or from $112.44 to $122.52 a semester. So you can see that that's the 8.96% increase that you voted on. If you look down at the bottom at the intercollegiate athletics fee, you'll see that you voted to increase that from $4.21 a credit hour to $4.58 a credit hour, which is an 8.79%. So while those numbers are high, yes, or they seem like it, they're higher than recent past. But again, you know the budget situation that you've been in and the rock and the hard space you were stuck between. When you look at the other student fees on there, you'll see that if you approve and support the recommended increases to those fees, your overall cumulative impact to the student fee package is only going to be about 4.45%. Okay? That's what that bottom right number is there. And so what does that mean to the average student? So the average student, that's going to mean about $23.64 a semester is what that student fee increase is going to look like. So I just wanted to share with you some of the numbers that we look at and the numbers that get presented to administration. And while last week's votes were to increase at rates a little bit higher than normal, and we'd like to, a normal number that we'd like to get back to, your overall cumulative impact is not going to be nearly as high as what those two fees were. So this is where we are right now. Again, these assume that you support the recommendations that are the requests that have been made. If you should choose them, if you should change them, then of course that number will change a little bit, but that's where we are right now, and I just wanted to give you that update so you could see where things were for today. Okay? So I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any questions about that. Otherwise, I will save the rest of my stuff for announcements at the end of the meeting, but I wanted you to have this going into your further discussions today.
Do you have any questions for John Boca? President Zelmer?
Since we're voting on a couple fees today, can you just make kind of clear how this works? So if we approve any increases today to any of the other fees, do any of those go to referendum?
Correct. Okay, thank you for asking. The reason we do the student activity fee and the athletics fee in the same meeting is because those are the only two that are subject to a vote of the entire student body. Okay? That's why we did them last week, because we had to prepare and make sure that we can publicize and notify students that there's got to be an open forum on those fee increases that will take place next Wednesday. By statute, it has to be offered for a forum on that. And that's why we vote on those two at the same time. The fees that you're voting on today are not subject to a vote of the entire student body. Whatever you choose to do today is the recommendation that will end up on Dr. Jones and the president's desk.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm aware the environmental committee also would like to speak.
Yeah. Go.
Yeah, yes, please.
Hi, Tim, I'm going to share my screen again.
Hello, my name is Mike Rakowski. I don't see anyone I recognize yet, but I'm a faculty member in physics and astronomy. So if you take an astronomy course, you'll see me in the head of the room. But I'm also serving in the past 2 years as the chair, or the past year as the chair of the environmental committee. We have 3 members. We still have non-voting positions for anyone who wants to get involved with that. But I'm here today to very briefly try to gather up some support for a very large initiative that's occurring behind the scenes, so to speak, regarding solar power on campus. So a few years ago, I think 2021, this report was developed by a third-party industrial design organization, and the report sort of scoped out what it would cost to develop solar infrastructure and EV charging on campus. And there's some of the numbers here. I don't know if this is on, but the total project cost is that $21 million number. That number is including all of the things that were scoped out. The thing that I want to talk about specifically here is the $15 million roughly for solar projects. And solar means panels on roofs or panels over areas on campus. This is a $15 million project, which is, as it was written in this design, a 4.9 megawatt source of power, which basically means that on our peak day, when the sun is up, typically students aren't on campus because the sun is pretty low in the fall and spring. But in the summertime, peak production would be pretty high, would cover all of our costs, basically. We'd be running entirely on the sun if this were installed. So this is a huge investment. This is a huge reduction in our greenhouse gas outputs as a university. This project has some other things I won't talk about, but if you scroll down to the next page, to put this in context, right now the leading university in the country in terms of solar has installed 53 megawatts. It's Arizona State University. Their big campus is in Tempe. They've covered in all the colored regions is where they have solar panels. Obviously, Arizona State makes a lot of sense. The sun is up. It's pretty far south. And there's lots of nice flat land. It's the middle of the desert. Our partners or our friends up north in Minneapolis, the University of Minnesota, their big investment that they announced in 2021 was a 2 megawatt project. So we are looking at an investment that would essentially double or make us the largest single investment in solar in the state of Minnesota if we went through with this program. I point this out because this is a huge point of pride for this university. If we can develop this structure on campus, Now, what does it mean for you? It means cost savings, it means greenhouse energy, or green energy, so on and so forth. But if you scroll to the next page, the places in which these would be installed, there would obviously be, there's a lot of flat rooftops. We would be putting solar panels on the rooftop. But if you scroll to the next page, there's also 3 parking lots that would be listed for having solar panels. So if any of you park in a parking lot and you've come out at the end of the day and you're covered in snow and you have to spend 15 minutes scraping the ice or snow off, that doesn't happen anymore if you park in lots 1, 2, or 4 where these solar panels would go up. This is, you know, free protection for your car in a sense, and we just sit and stare at the sun, and it runs what we need on campus. I think the last slide is the next one. So here's my ask. My ask is not for money. This is a project which for a few years was really put on hiatus. The development infrastructure was done, the design work was scoped out, but the problem is that the Min-State system required us to have a certain number of, a certain length of time over which we would pay this back, which if we built this large system, we wouldn't be able to do that. But if you've been paying attention to the news in the past year, there's been a huge Inflation Reduction Act passed by Congress, signed by the President, in which there are billions of dollars that are becoming available to do these sorts of projects. And so there's new fire under the facilities to develop this. Now, if this is a project that comes exclusively from facilities because they say we can guarantee we're going to save this amount of money over the next decades by making this investment, and they make the economic argument, and the faculty, you know, these egghead scientists who say, well, the world is on fire and we need to save it now, so please put this in. If we're the only people making the argument, it might not sell. So what I'm asking for you all, and I put my email at the bottom, is that if you care at all about the planet in which you're going to live the rest of your lives on, because no one's going to Mars, no matter what Elon Musk tells you, the planet that you're living on is going to increase its temperature by 3 degrees unless we do something yesterday or decades ago. The only thing now we can do is hope to mitigate that and bend that curve downward. And we do that with big investments in solar like this. So if you care about that, email me and let's set up some sort of campaign amongst the students to advertise this. And I'll point out, this isn't going to cost you a dime. This isn't a request for more funding. I have that reassurance from Paul Corcoran, who's been doing this probably since I was in diapers, trying to figure out how to build this project and make it work. This is a huge priority for the university, but if the students buy in, and it's United Students, faculty, staff, administration, facilities, the guy who paints the lines on the football field, if we're all behind this, it will happen because the money is there and the priority is there from the administration. So I'm asking you, just email me, let's talk offline. I'm not going to talk your head off today, but talk offline and figure out a way that we can incorporate your attitudes on solar and your friends' attitudes, your peers on campus attitudes into the design of this program so that this is maximally beneficial for everyone on campus. So michael.rakowski@MSU. I'm sure it'll just autocomplete. If not, go to the Physics and Astronomy website. There's only 2 astronomers here, and I'm the younger one. So that's all I have, so thanks.
Are you willing to stand for questions?
Oh, yeah, of course, of course.
Oh, wonderful. I don't know if there will be any, but are there any questions? President Zummer.
So this will be fully, like, let's say we were able to get this project underway, it would not go through student fees, it'd go through, like, congressional funding?
This is, so originally in the past the past time that this was proposed, we put in congressionally directed spending request. And it was advanced by the senators, but it wasn't funded. That mechanism could be applied for again, though it's up in the air whether or not that funding would come. But while Paul Corcoran, the person who's been spearheading this on the facility side, while they were redeveloping it, this IRA was passed. And there are other programs, matching funds through the state government that could help support this as well. So originally I came in with this to Paul and I said, so are we asking the students for 10 cents a year, 10 cents a credit or something? He said, no, this is built without the students paying this back. This is a long-term investment. If we can get the money from the IRA up front, then the cost savings will pay down the remainder over the next 20 or I think Min-State requires 20 years that we pay it back. But we need that a few million up front, and we can get that now through these new congressional programs. So we may not have to rely on the senators being adamant on Capitol Hill that Minnesota State needs this to develop, these funds to develop the project.
Thank you very much. Senator Roberts. There's more.
If the funding doesn't come, because there's always the risk of that happening, would you believe it would become at some point necessary, if we believed in it enough, that students would support some sort of some modified backing? If we needed to?
I mean, I don't want to put, I mean, that would be up for you all to decide. I would not like to present this as, well, as a backup plan, let's assume the students are going to put up some money, because, you know, that's not my money. That's your money, and the generations to follow on campus. So, if there's a large enough push for that amongst the campus, I could imagine passing a student fee, or something like that. But that's not part of the calculus now.
Are there any further questions? Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. That's really interesting. Also, I know a lot of people here are looking at running for next year. That's something that you might want to keep on your radar for next year's student government to look at. But let's keep moving right along. Do we have anyone else for open forum? Anyone else for open forum? Senator Destin.
So I know it is campaign time, and most of the time we'll be hearing political speeches, but this is not my purpose for today. I'm not here to talk about politics.
Good,
however, yeah, I have a concern. So today I'll be speaking in my capacity as a student government leader and not as a candidate. In fact, I'm speaking on behalf of myself. Before I make this point, I would like to give out a handout to a fellow senator to read it. And this is about a resolution that we passed in Senate on November 16, 2022. And it's titled Student Government Election Subsidy.
Do you need me to pull it up, or?
Yeah, you can pull it up, please.
Need
And that resolution was motioned by Senator David Wayne, seconded by Senator Destin. So.
You want me to read it?
Please.
Okay. Whereas any Minnesota State University Mankato student may seek elected office provided Article 1 of the spring election rules is satisfied. Whereas Minnesota State University Mankato students have varying degrees of financial stability. Whereas students' ability to pay for campaign materials is directly influenced the outcome of elections. Whereas the issue of this financial situation poses one of equity. Whereas the University Elections Commission passed a provision on Monday, 11/14/2022, allowing the student government to create a subsidy amounting up to $10 for individuals and $50 for parties. Whereas these funds would solely be used for printing of promotional items. Whereas the use of these funds would be governed by the rules as approved by the Elections Commission. Be it resolved, the student government agrees to allocate the funds provisioned by the Elections Commission. End resolution.
Yeah, thank you so much. So now to my point. As a student government leader, I think the resolution that we passed, it has additional responsibility in ensuring that we should bridge the equity gap. It is not equitable when we have a resolution that is very broad, that gives a responsibility to election commissions to make a decision of the deadline for student leaders to apply for subsidy, and because they did not apply, even though they still had time, the application process for being a student government official was still going on, but they did not meet up with the deadline for that subsidy, which is a crucial part, as you hear in the resolution. I think it's unfair, and there's an equity gap right there. And so I just want to challenge and call upon us as student government leaders to set a deadline that will align with the application deadline. So for this subsidy, I understand it was due on March 18th, but then students still had a chance to apply up to March 27th. So if you apply after March 18th, you do not qualify for the subsidy. And then if the other candidates apply before March 18th, they have the chance to benefit from that, which can it can influence the election results, because as you can see around, there will be more candidates that have their posters or flyers around and others will not have it because of the subsidies not being given to them. So I think we are challenged as student government moving forward to really show that we are very serious about equity, and we can ensure that every student that take upon their time to run for these positions are given the financial resources they need to enforce their campaign. Thank you.
Senator Destin, I would like to recommend that you take up these issues within the Elections Commission, and then if you are interested, you can bring forward another resolution in order to extend that time. I realize that there's not a lot of time to do something such as that, though I'm sure under the conditions something like that could be expedited. But this is also something that could potentially be extended and brought up through a conversation with our Elections Commission as well as our advisor, John Volkog, should you seek to do something such as that.
Oh yeah, sure. I did speak to John, and I did speak to election commissions. I know this is not a response. Oh no, you're good. It could be maybe a project for the next student government, but I really think it's a really critical thing, because the purpose of this resolution is to achieve equity. If we have a situation where one group feel like they are not getting access to the resource that student government provides, that is very critical to the outcome of the election, I think then it's a concern. So yeah, definitely we can figure out how to do that.
Thank you.
So yeah, I will stand for questions.
President Zelmer.
Can I make comments instead of questions?
Sure, so long as.
Yeah, it's just about the Elections Commission.
Okay, go for it.
So for the Elections Commission, if you are, like, the reason that election rules are set by the Elections Commission and not by Senate is because members of Senate may run for re-election. So that is why the election rules have never been set, at least in my understanding, by, yes, I have approval, by the student government, is because, I mean, I've seen many of your posters around campus, love the posters, thank you for getting them up on the first day of campaigning. Was personally a little sad they weren't up right at 8 a.m. On the first day of campaigning, but happy to see them all up now. But that is why it's always set by the Elections Commission, is because that way, let's say I was serving on the Elections Commission, I voted on changing some rules, and now I'm running for re-election. I just influenced the rules of my own election. So that's why the Elections Commission has always been kept separate of student government, and student government hasn't overruled it. Also on the budget thing, we let this motion go through. It was a good motion. The Budget Committee, you can all see it in the Constitution. It is made up of the exec board and then any senators, no one shared that they were interested this year to oversee the student government budget. At least to my understanding, like granted if you all passed something that said like, we should spend all our money on this, depending on how much money it was, I'd probably be like, yeah, sure, like we can make it work. The $500 was also, the stipend was an idea I brought to the Elections Commission, but the funding, or like how student government spends their money, goes through the Budget Committee, who oversees the student government budget line item, which again is us three, and then if any, I think there's like a couple more spots on it if people were interested on it. But that is like where that funding comes from. But that is again why like student government does not set election rules, is since people on student government typically run for re-election if they're eligible and if they wanted to, yeah, so that's just kind of the background on the Elections Commission. Senator Wing serves on the Election Commission, as well as you can reach out to the chair, Mimi Cronin, or the other member, Allison Allen, in the future as well. But that is why student government does not get to vote on the election rules.
Yeah, and that's correct. The only concern I have with that as a senator is because I think at the end of the day, the goal is to achieve equity, and this subsidy is provided by student government. So at the end of the day, if we are giving money now for something that is not being achieved, then I don't think we achieve the purpose of giving out the money. So even though we cannot influence the election rules, I however believe that student government can do something with how we want this fund to be disbursed or how it should be used in terms of making sure that every participant in this election can benefit, because that's the purpose of the money. It is not something that one group can benefit and the other cannot, because that can influence the result, and that is not something that we want, and that's why this resolution was introduced. So yeah, that's just one comment I would make on that.
Senator Wayne.
Just a comment as well. Just to point out that the elections timeline with this deadline was published back in November, the week following that that resolution, and then the time to apply started the first day of the semester, just because it ended before the application process, and I don't think that quite presents an issue. It's I mean, you could have had, or not, as a student could have had the entirety of the first half of the semester to apply. I find this to be kind of moot.
Yeah, the problem with
I'll
that.
strike the opinion point
Yeah.
at the end there,
Yeah.
but I would like to reiterate that I would strongly recommend bringing up these concerns further in conversations with the elections committee as well as with our advisor, because we as student government cannot be stepping into that role of dictating how the election is going to be ran.
Right, and just to clarify something with his comment, I would like to clarify first of all that the deadline for that election for the subsidy was March 18th. So regardless of when it was published, I feel like the actual deadline for students to apply for student government position is March 27th. And this subsidies that was passed by student government is intended to enhance that purpose and that deadline. So if I can apply up to March 27th and there's some money in place that I can use to support my campaign, and I don't have access to that money anymore if I apply after March 18th, I don't think I achieved the equity of this budget. So I am tapping more into the equity standpoint, and I don't know to what extent you guys, this is not about me being a candidate, it's more about us looking at it from an equitable standpoint. Like if a student apply after March 18th and he has to pay out of his pocket to support his campaign, whereas his opposition got the subsidies to enhance their campaign, and that in turn has made them more, made them able to print more flyers and other things. Are we on the same page in terms of equity opportunity to compete really? So that's what I'm looking at. It does not provide the same opportunity to the two different individuals. So yeah, the timeline is very critical, but then what is the purpose of it if it doesn't achieve equity?
I'm very thankful for you bringing this concern. I once again strongly recommend to consider to bring this up to the Elections Commission as well as our advisors. This body cannot make a ruling on that. And I'm also going to cut off questions and comments at this time towards this open forum participant. Thank you very much. Sorry. All right, do we have anyone else for open forum? Anyone else for open forum? Is that, Mark, do I see you looking like you want to go? Okay, thank you. Then in that case, we're going to move right along to the approval of the consent agenda. I'm aware that there is a motion on the table. Thank you very much. A motion for President Zelmer.
So, seeing that we are sending some things to Ethics and Standards, I have filled Ethics and Standards with the help of the exec board. So, to add to the consent agenda, a few more people. So, for the chair, Jax Carline, for the chair of Ethics and Standards, and another member, Henry Bowring McDonough, as a member of Ethics and Standards.
There's a motion. Do we have a second? Thank you. I see a second. Thank you very much. I'm just going to ask if there's any dissent on that motion. Is there any dissent? Seeing no dissent, thank you very much. We will now vote on, I'll now call for the approval of the consent agenda as amended. Do we have any further amendments or dissent to the consent agenda? Thank you very much. John Bulcock.
On the agenda in front of me, I see appointments for Isaac Enrique and Alex Wood. What are they being appointed to?
Members.
They're being appointed to ethics and
Oh, they
standards.
are. Okay, got it.
Yeah, on the version that was sent out and not printed out, there was unfortunately a typo that did not include the ethics and standards.
Okay.
But on our printed out and updated version, we have that listed. Just to clarify, sorry about that, Isaac Enrique and Alex Wood are also being appointed as members of ethics and standards. Any other dissent or amendments?
Point of information.
Yes.
Can you explain a little bit about these individuals and based on why they were appointed?
I can.
I will yield to Emma Zellner as the person who is appointing them.
Sure. So a bit on ethics and standards. First, it's built of 4 members and a chair. The 4 voting members are not allowed to be members of Senate, so we're looking for people who are not members of Senate. The chair could be a member of Senate. However, when we were looking for people, we wanted the chair to not be a member of Senate, just since even though they don't have a vote and they're non-biased in like the discussions and they just help facilitate any discussions ethics and standard might have, I thought it was best to not have a senator just to be able to make sure ethics and standards are supposed to hold all of us accountable. So I wanted to make sure that they were fully removed from student government. These individuals, Alex Wood, he's the coordinator of legislative affairs, but he's not really a member of Senate. He also doesn't attend Senate meetings. What he's been up to, he's been working on, this is going to be my officer report, but working on a Meet Your Legislator Day, including U.S. Congressman Brad Finstad, as well as our state and local representatives as well. We're hoping to partner with the President's Office to get some food. And the other members are members of student events team and a few other places, so they are involved on campus, so they kind of understand how students' things work. However, when meeting with them, we made sure that they were able to keep a level head, non-biased, and look at things from the whole picture. So if anything were to be sent there, including what we spoke about during executive session in the budget meeting, and if anything else were to come up, we wanted to make sure that they would be able to look at everything without having any preconceived biases.
Senator Destin.
Additional point of information. In terms of diversity, what is the background of these individuals?
I do not believe that we can disclose that information.
Okay,
Are there any other dissent or amendments on the approval of the consent agenda, which is normally not controversial, so this is fun. All right, any other dissent or amendments? Seeing none, we have an approval of the consent agenda. Beautiful. All right, we're moving right along to officer reports.
And you want to start? I need to pull some things up. Sorry, totally ditching the agenda.
That's fine, I can start. I only have a couple updates since I think we're doing combined office reports. So I just wanted to update you that Student United Scholarship ends this Friday. So if you want to apply a scholarship, please do it before Friday. Also, as I mentioned before, Student United will be hosting International Students Network virtual event. So now you can register the event. The registration deadline is Friday, April 21st. And the date that event is happening is April 25th, from 12 to 1 p.m. So if you need the registrations, please let me know, email me, or just go to the student event website to look for that. I don't think it's up yet, but if you're interested, let me know. It's a cool event, it's networking, and you get to talk about a lot of cool stuff and meet Student United members, or students from the 7 minutes they cross the campuses. And that's all I have for you. The rest I will update you about. Any questions for me?
Any questions for Vice President Ibrahim? Any questions? Seeing none, President Zelmer, if you're ready.
Cool. So on building off of building off of Students United, the vice chair application was extended because we didn't have any applicants by the deadline. Told you all to apply. There was only one applicant. We wouldn't have extended it, but it has been extended. It is due, I believe, Friday. If you want help pulling together an application real fast, I would love to help out anyone. We would love to have a Mankato board member. So it's just for vice chair. Vice chair, I was Students United vice chair, so if you have questions about it, please let me know. Vice chair is a super cool position because the state chair has to do everything that the board tells them to. Vice chair, you have a little bit more freedom to be able to kind of, you still have to work on behalf of the board, but you have a little bit more freedom to be able to set up events that you might like, When I was vice chair, we set up events to be able to share across campuses what different campuses were doing about different issues. So you really get to kind of personalize the role to yourself. It's 15 hours a week, all hybrid. You also still have the opportunity to like testify to Congress and all of this, and the spring break DC trip. It's 15 hours a week. It's 16 something an hour, so you get paid more than I did. You also get to work with staff members, and it's a bit more. Student leadership is seen as like a student leadership role, whereas Students United is a nonprofit. So although it's still a student leadership role, some businesses do see it more of like a professional spot since you are the vice chair of a board. I really enjoyed it. So again, if you need help pulling together an application overnight, let me know. I'd be more than happy to help out. Beyond that, we also met with the president yesterday for our bi-weekly meeting. He did want to commend everyone on putting together a good budget. We all made really great budget decisions, even if there were some contested moments. First of all, I'm really proud of us for getting out of there before 10 p.m. But also, we did not go into reserves or make any like what some might call a rash decision just because we wanted to or just because we were in a tough budget situation. So I'm really proud of us all for being very professional in there. And the president was proud to see a budget that was also smart. And he said our backup budget is great, and our backup to the backup budget is great as well. So all three budgets do look good. Make sure we turn out people to vote for the main one, though. Beyond that, yesterday I also testified to the Senate, House, one of the higher education committees for the state of Minnesota on the higher education omnibus bill. We'll be getting an update next week about what maybe some closed-door conversations have been about higher ed funding. In this omnibus bill, there was 2 years of free public tuition. That includes 4-year and 2-year institutions, so your first 2 years would have been free. I think it might only be for Minnesota residents. I'm not 100% sure. So I spoke on that, and then if Students United is watching, I'm sorry, I did go off script at the end to push for the tuition freeze, just in case the 2-year gets dropped. All of Min-State's request is not included in this omnibus bill, so I threw that in at the end. They still said I did a good job and didn't mention it, but yeah, so that was fun, able to do that. I'm also really happy to see that there is a large amount of funding there. One of the things that did come up during testimony, not mine, but other people's, was the lack of funding for supporting students of color who want to become teachers. So that's something that I think we could look into as well, because I think it's really important we open up more scholarships for that. There was also a 4th grader who testified, and I just thought it was perfect. And she did great. Other than that, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I kind of took a couple days. We've been working on some final resolutions. If you have any final resolutions you want to wrap up, please stop by the office. Let me know if you want to stop by, because I'll send you my availability then. That way, any of us are more than happy to meet to be able to help type up a resolution really quick. Resolutions can be daunting, but when you've done them a few times, they're really not as scary as you think, so we can help you pull those together. Again, we have 3 meetings left, and typically the last one's a short one because that's the day of the inauguration. But we can always just like crank through some resolutions. I think it's important we finish out on a high note. Beyond that, I did want to update you all on a resolution response I received from the president's office. This one was about the international student health care. Again, we were pushing for split payments. We have been this whole year. I will read you all the response and let you know the conversation we had following it. It's a bit long, so it's not too long, but bear with me. So, Dear Student Government President Emma Zellmer, this was sent to me on the Tuesday the 21st. I honestly didn't see it until like later on since it was the budget meeting. Also didn't have an update. Dear Student Government President Emma Zellmer, this letter is in response to Senate Resolution 90.10.26.22.01, International Student Insurance Policy Resolution passed on October 26, 2022. I delayed in responding to this resolution until we had further information on what options might be available to us and how those options might affect our international students. Due to our need for further information, we did make a decision to continue to allow the split payments for international student health insurance policies for the 2022-23 academic year, that's this year, knowing that there was a risk students would not make their second payments. Vice President David Jones has shared with me that 400 students did not make their second payment and were no longer in compliance with their visa requirements for health care coverage. A significant amount of time and personnel resources went into connecting with and re-enrolling infected students. Sadly, not all were able to be successfully re-enrolled and subsequently lost insurance coverage and visa eligibility status. We understand that a large single payment can be a hardship for students, and the two-payment option was introduced during the pandemic in an effort to help alleviate some hardship during a particularly difficult time. However, having hundreds of students in severe situation of being in non-compliance is not tenable, and we cannot continue to offer this option. For the 2023 to 2024 school year and beyond, we will return to one payment for international student health insurance. We will continue to explore alternative coverage and billing options with our health insurance provider, as it is under negotiations at the system office level for its next contracted cycle. I welcome students' government's continued ideas for solution as we further discuss this important topic. On Tuesday, when we met with the president, we shared that we are not in support of their decision since our resolution was to continue split payments. We didn't have like multiple meetings, but we were talking with them about what some different options could look like. Even going into like if they didn't make the second payment, would they go to one payment and everyone else could do two since they were able to make the two, and looking at different options. We also tried looking at moving the payment dates to align with semester deadlines, because it is really confusing to have a major payment deadline in November when the rest of your payments are due in January, even though the insurance would lapse on January 1st. So that was why that deadline was earlier. That was not allowed by the insurance company. So I am bringing it to Students United. I'm reviewing the Students United stances. I know the Students United stance is for split payments and to allow international students to choose their own provider. I am going to try to get the board and Students United to push for the policy to be split payments, since right now just the system office's policy has been that universities and colleges can decide whether to offer split payments or not. If the payment deadlines lined up better, two payments would be a more tangible option with like semester deadlines. But since insurance doesn't operate on that, I'm hoping that we'll be able to try to negotiate that into the contract. That way, if we were to move forward with split payments, we'd probably have a little bit of an easier ground to like stand on when we're trying to push for split payments, because this was the response we received. We did share that student government would still like to see split payments in the future. And we have shared that the expectation is that the information that it will no longer be split to be sent out as soon as possible. So international students, please let us know what kind of communications you're receiving, or if there's been any lack of communication. This decision was just made, so it might not have gone out yet. But make sure we spread the word so that people know that they need to start saving up for that one-time big payment, or reaching out to the KIC and other offices or in the financial office to see if there's different plans that can be set up if there needs to be. I don't know if there are different plans, but if they need financial assistance, what can kind of be done that way. I yield.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for President Zelmer? Any questions? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and go real quick. So, I've got a couple things to talk about. As we are nearing the end of our term, one of the things that we get to work on again, just like we did last semester, Senator Pay. It's back, my friends. So, how Senator Pay works is you can qualify for Senator Pay provided that you have not missed more than 2 meetings in the semester. And that means, unfortunately, that people that were elected on a vacancy after the first 2 meetings are not eligible for Senator Pay. It's a very unfortunate situation, and I'm sorry about that. In addition, Senator Pay also needs to be earned by submitting your office hours, doing all your senator reports, and just generally showing to us that you are doing your job and giving us those receipts. So as long as you've got office hours submitted and you have your senator reports done, which everyone is scheduled to do their senator reports, so don't worry about that aspect of things. And as long as you have not missed more than 2 meetings, you will be eligible for Senator Pay. I will be sending out an email to the individuals who are eligible for Senator Pay, as well as an email to the individuals who aren't. If you are not eligible, feel free to appeal and say, hey, I think you made a mistake here for X reason, and I'll look into it and be like, oh my gosh, you're totally right, my bad. But that is going to be a $100 stipend that will be afforded to those that are able to fill out those stuff. If you're worried about your office hours, you can query me about it and see if you're good to go. Or alternatively, if you know that you're missing a couple of weeks, you can just say, oh, let me just real quick submit whatever I've got on my calendar for that week, and that'll be great. Speaking of office hours, oh yeah, get that quick. Speaking of office hours are due this week. Last week was our big budget meeting, so I completely understand if you're a little bit shy on office hours because you got a lot done during that budget meeting, so I totally get it. The next thing that I've got for you fine folks is I have a handout from Dean Wallace for Research Month. It's got a nice little QR code that you can scan here that just helps you guys with researching for some of your final projects or some of your final assignments. I don't think that's enough to make it all the way around, but you know, maybe just keep them floating if you don't have enough for everyone. And yeah, you can scan the QR code, that's all good. The next thing I have up is I would like to announce this month's Senator of the Month for March. I'm going to give this to a senator who has shown dedicated commitment, that has constantly been showing up and supporting and has constantly been working very, very hard. Someone who has been doing a lot to further make this campus a more equitable space, and a space where people from a diversity of backgrounds can feel at home and feel a sense of community. Someone who also just tends to brighten up the environment and make everyone feel welcomed and appreciated, and someone who's just been an absolute ray of sunshine. I'm going to give our March Senator of the Month to Amal Sharafko-Jeva. Oh no, please don't. We'll corner you later for a picture. All right.
Another day.
Yes. I'll open it up for any questions from me, and then I'll pass it off to the Dean of the Day. Any questions?
Yes, I do. Can I ask some questions?
Yeah, please do.
Yes, so what about the senators who haven't gotten paid for the last semester yet?
I'm going to yield to Emma on this one.
And I might need to yield to John as well. This is not an us thing. This is a business services thing, working through a multitude of concerns about, not concerns about like paying it because it is in our budget and everything, but about like tax documents and all of this and that. So I've not been in those conversations. John, but there is, everyone who qualified for pay will get paid. They've been having conversations with Vice President David Jones, Amber, our advisor John, and all of this to make sure pay goes through. But they are making sure that we aren't like doing certain things by case basis. So it's, I don't know, there's like legal papers and stuff, but your pay will go through. If you haven't got paid for this past semester, reach out to Amber, please. She's the one that pushes that all through. John, do you have anything else or any other comments we can make on the senator pay issues?
I've communicated with Speaker Novak about something that we need from them to consider the conversation. So,
yes, yeah. So it's on business services end, but if you haven't gotten paid yet for the last semester, or if you haven't gotten paid for the last semester, including coordinators, if you haven't gotten your coordinator pay for the last semester, please reach out to Amber, as well as like drop a hint to one of us, and we'll be able. But make sure you reach out to Amber first because she's the one who handles it. But yeah, it's in business services court. We love you, business services. Please try to get our senators paid.
Thank you very much. Any other questions for me? Seeing none, I'm going to go to our Dean of the Day, Dean Dahlman.
Hi everyone. I don't have really any updates, but I'm here for any questions, especially about the national health insurance if you have. But other than that, I'm just listening and learning.
Senator Destin.
What if an international student cannot afford the one-time payment, but they have other insurance options?
Yep.
Do you accept that or not?
And KIC is the one who administers it. You cannot have other insurance. You have to have, as per your I-20, it says you are mandated to have the MNSU health insurance, and that's also the state policy. So no, there are very, very few exceptions.
President Zummer.
And is that a university policy or is that a Minnesota state system policy?
It is an admissions policy by the state that you have to use the MNSU health insurance.
Thank you very much. Do we have any further questions? Any further questions? Then in that case, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, I will now go to Senator reports. First up, we have Senator Mueller over Zoom.
All right, hi everyone. Sorry I can't be in person with you guys today. I'll keep my report super short and simple. Kind of basically the biggest projects I've been working on has been kind of mostly with the Environmental Committee and the Student Affairs Committee. I have been, in the past, I've been, attending meetings and talking to other people on the Environmental Committee about the Sustainability Director and kind of getting that. And then I was also part of the meetings about the solar panel project, which you guys saw a presentation on from our committee chair. And then also with Student Affairs Committee, I've been, talking with other senators and kind of brainstorming, seeing the ways that we can, come up with new projects kind of based around transportation and food insecurity and kind of all around that area. Seeing that it is pretty obvious that those two issues are linked together. A lot of senators, including myself, were looking at ways to mitigate that on campus. And then overall, just, standing up for transportation policy, advocating for transportation for students and, expanding transportation on the university. Obviously, the budget season, the budget committee kind of, took precedence away from some of these projects. But as, we finish up the term and we start going into the summer and getting ready for next term, I hope to kind of be, revamping these projects that I have in mind up again. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for Senator Mueller? Any questions? Seeing none, we'll go to our next senator report from Senator Roberts. Oh, sorry, I completely forgot. Let's give a round of applause for Senator Mueller. Thank you for catching me.
Hello friends, I'm going to keep this relatively short as we are coming to the end of our terms. I'm kind of starting to put together a bunch of transition materials to whoever follows, as we do not know what will happen next, but I'm preparing a few transition materials for whoever follows in terms of basic needs coordinator. I have a ton of materials that they can use, survey materials, a various number of resources that they can put together and hopefully help with student basic needs. And then I might be pushing a couple small resolutions coming here in the last few weeks. One that has been requested when I've been speaking to constituents post-budget meeting, basically asking student government to advocate with the city and local government not to increase the cost that is going to be associated with the busing services, to ask them to freeze the cost for a year so we can not have to deal with cuts or anything along those lines. And then the second thing is a continuation of something that was discussed last year but never ended up happening, which was to create a time card for graduate students so they're not being overworked over the 20-hour cap that is currently for graduate assistants. Those are the last things I'm trying to hopefully get a resolution for it in the coming last weeks of us. And that is all. So if there's any questions, I would love to hear them.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Any questions? Senator Destin.
So I think you're part of that email list. I saw an email from a graduate student about their tuition increase, and they were reaching out to two of us to help them.
Yeah, absolutely. I know what exactly you're talking about. The 150% increase for non-resident. So when I spoke to Dean Veltzos about this, particularly those funds, well, I don't necessarily support the idea of a 150% increase on our students. That's pretty brutal. But that being said, the intention of that was to better support graduate students, particularly the grad college that has not received a lot of funding. So that's where a lot of that intended money was going to support, I believe, some of the programming aspects, if I'm remembering correctly, and also in terms of potentially being able to use that to more professional development for graduate students, which has been pretty lacking overall in terms of. So basically, a lot of it's going to improving the quality of life for graduate students across the board, is what I've heard, what that intention of that money is going to. Well, I don't love the idea of a massive tuition increase. I also have to understand that the money is going to good places. So that's what I've heard on the issue overall in terms of that when I spoke to Dean Beltis about that issue.
Thank you very much. Any further questions? Yeah, President Zomber.
Sorry, just to add on that a little bit as well. I'm not sure about the exact number, like why it was that exact number, but parts of the conversation that when I was asking about it as well was also that currently, so like how graduate students typically operate, like in the university budget, the university spends more money on graduate student programs than it brings in, just with like graduate assistantships and all that. So this is trying to offset that, especially with the decline in undergraduate enrollment, since undergraduate students help pay for more of the graduate school than the graduate students pay for. Not like percentage-wise, but like undergrad tuition goes towards the graduate programs as well. Not that that's wrong or anything. I yield.
All right, do we have anything else? Seeing nothing else, thank you very much. All right, our last senator report for the day, Senator Wing.
Howdy everybody, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. So this semester I've been continuing discussions with the music ensembles folks, trying to ensure more secure budgeting for them in the future. Unfortunately, the events that we had planned for the semester were unable to come to fruition due to timeline and budget constraints, but I have been in touch with our choral arts director and do see plans to continue those into the future. On the other side of things that I've been doing is work with the Elections Commission. Held a rules reading here a couple of weeks ago and have been listening to concerns regarding the upcoming election, as well as pushing out the get out the vote effort with my constituents. And then I'm also working on a couple of smaller resolutions that I have not written the text for yet, so I don't want to get too much into that. But yeah, that's what I've been working on so far, as well as getting some transition documents together for humanities and social sciences for the coming year. So with that, I yield.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions? Any questions? All right, thank you very much. I'll note, I've heard a lot of people say that they're interested in bringing forward resolutions. Once again, we only have like 3 weeks left, so get those to me soon so that we can start going through those and we can start working through those and getting that done before the end of our term. With that, we're going to go ahead and move on. The vacancies are of course closed, but we have them listed on the agenda for people to see. You'll notice in our new business, we have quite a few items here. We are going to vote on the first 3 items there, and then the next 2 are informational, and then we have a resolution. So, first up is the Student Health Services fee. We were provided their presentation a couple weeks ago, and I also linked that when I sent it out with the agenda for people to look over. But they were asking to have an increase of 1.99% to $5.52. And if I say anything incorrect, please correct me as I'm talking. But that was their request, and we now have it on the table as to what our recommendation will be in that regards. So. Yeah, sorry.
Just to clarify, it's an increase from $5.52 to $5.63.
Oh,
yes.
Thank you so much. I wrote down the wrong number. Thank you.
Do you want me to share this?
Oh, yes, please. That would be greatly appreciated.
So this is the document we were looking at earlier, so you can see right there. If people want, I can pull up the Teams site and try to pull up like some of that. Would that be more helpful than the sheet if I pulled up like the Teams thing? This is fine.
It's fine. I think you zoomed it, but yeah, column J.
Cool.
All right.
Love to see it. And it's the highlighted one.
Thank you very much. Okay. I see President Sommer.
I think that we should approve this increase. It's a small increase to students, especially having a health clinic that's reserved for students is so critical. You save time, you hopefully save money. Also, our on-campus clinic makes sure to accept the international student health care, so it's really important that there's a clinic right here on campus that's available and provides the services necessary for students. I think 11 cents, this is per credit, right? Yeah. 11 cents per credit. They stayed under 2%, which is more than our group can say. And I definitely think that 11 cents per credit is necessary. They also offer over-the-counter medicine at the pharmacy that's typically discounted, so it's so important that students have access to this. They also partner with different groups around campus, such as the Women's Center, where you can get a free Plan B, like little stipend, so then you're able to get that at the Women's Center and use it at health services. And they're at every one of our meetings, so I think that's also a pro, but below 2% I think is essential for students to be able to maintain this. Also, I believe they're still losing a little bit of money. They're not like fully regaining the amount that they would have with the student decline, so they're obviously doing really well with their finances to be able to be conscious of student fees while also taking a decrease in their budget, even with a small increase to fees. I yield.
Senator Wing.
I'm also voicing my support for this, especially if you look at the banded price. I mean, it's less than a candy bar at Quick Trip, and for the amount of services they provide and the expenses that they have, I think that this is well deserved, and so I will be voting in support.
Thank you very much. Do we have Senator Ziegler? Call the question. Beautiful. All right. Do we have a second? Second. Do we have any dissent? No dissent? All right. Same as we did during the budget meeting. We're going to do this by raise of hand and raise a placard. Can I please see the Zoom? Thank you very much, Jesse. Yes, sir. I see a motion.
I'm so sorry, IT. Oh, Jordan.
Oh, okay. You're just both voting. Got you. All right.
Wait, Jordan.
Jordan, do you have a motion or?
No, that's more of just raising a placard.
Oh, I haven't called for votes yet. Sorry. All
Never
right.
mind.
I assume the same for Senator Vera.
Yeah, it's I'm raising my hand.
Okay, thank you. You guys can keep them up. So I will now call for all of those in support of the recommendation of $5.63, a 1.99% increase to student health services. All right. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, thank you very much. And with that, 2, 5. This bill, well, I'm gonna call, but I think I counted correctly. Is there any opposed? Any abstain? Cool. I was about to call it because I counted 26 in favor, and that's how many senators we have. So, this bill is approved. Thank you very much. All right, next up we have our student technology fee, which is requesting $12 per credit, a 4.35% increase as shown above. Do we have any discussion points on this? Any discussion points? If we get none, we get to vote. Senator Roberts.
Keep this short and sweet. I do support the increase in the fee. We see how much technology is absolutely needed on this campus, and the amount of support that they provide to our students. I will say that I still have the concern that I held last year in the prior Senate that with the esports area being funded, but I also recognize that that was a student project in the past. So with that being said, I do support this increase to fund them as they have requested.
Thank you very much. Senator Destin.
I support this resolution. My only point of concern is with the internet situation in CSU. I don't know if this is going to be considered, but I've heard from a lot of students that I didn't even know this. But before I came to Senate, I heard from students that there's no internet access in CSU. There's no Wi-Fi service, for example. maybe this is something that.
Are you gonna yield to the members in the gallery? Is it so?
No.
Okay, and then I'm gonna open it up. If the members in the gallery would like to talk on that, if they would, you don't have to.
Yeah, and just to clarify, I don't know to what extent this is true. I didn't experience it myself. I was just talking to students and asking about problems on campus, and this was one of the issues. So if it is a concern for students, I think we deserve to have a Wi-Fi service in the CSU. So.
I'm gonna yield to John both of them.
I would suggest bringing this up in a separate conversation. It's not directly related to the actual fee. So you can raise that concern, but I don't know that needs to be raised during the conversation about the fee.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, President Summer.
I am connected to the CSU Wi-Fi right now. So there is Wi-Fi in the Centennial Student Union and across campus. Sometimes she's a little shaky, but she'll get you there.
The request that we move on this point and stay on the budget.
So with technology costs increasing or like skyrocketing well above the rate of inflation across the country, I think it's important they're able to maintain what we have, and IT has been able to continue working on projects as well as expanding services. Also, shout out to IT Solutions for always broadcasting our things.
Thank you, Senator Narala.
I just want to come out up front and then say that I support this bill. I was in the technology fee committee, and we got to do some fun stuffs over there. Had a pretty good touring of the campus. We got to see around all of the places where technology is invested, and it's definitive that for student success, an active and robust ID community is also required. We can see that in our student government meetings. It's a disaster if IT is not over here. So just want to come up front and say that I totally support this increase, and with that, I'd like to call to question.
Thank you. Do we have a second? I see a second. Do we have any dissent? Seeing no dissent, we're going to do this by raise of hand and raise of placards. So all of those in favor of the recommendation of $12, a 4.35% increase to the tech fee, raise of hand and placards. Right. Thank you very much. Hands of placards down. Any opposed? I'll wait for the Zoom ones to clear. I assume that those are still the ones in favor. Are there any opposed? Any abstentions? Perfect. I counted correctly. That's a 26-0. So with that, the recommendation of $12 to the student tech fee is approved. Thank you. All right, and then our last fee that we're going to vote on is the student union fee. The student union fee is requesting to go to $10.52, a 1.45% increase. I will open up the floor for any discussion. Any discussion? Senator Roberts.
As the vice chair of the student union board, I think this is a really critical area. We've done a lot of work. We did a lot of work calculating this budget, and this is an incredibly low increase, mainly just covering a little bit of that decline in terms of enrollment primarily. So I think that we're running a pretty good ship here, and this is just basically covering that. And we've seen so many improvements to the CSU this year. We're excited that we saw so many students come back. So I am in support of this, and I hope that everyone else is also in support for the lowest fee category that we have a say on, lowest increase.
All right, do we have any other points? Seeing none, we're going to go to a vote, and we're going to do this by raising the placards again. So, all of those in favor of 1052, a 1.45% increase, raise your hands and placards. All right, thank you very much. Hands and placards down. And for those two to drop. All opposed? All opposed? Any abstentions? Any abstentions? Seeing none, I did count correctly. It's like I passed first grade math. So that is another fee that we have approved with 1052 to the student union fee, a 1.45% increase. Beautiful. All right, get that down real quick. While I do that, let's move to the seasonal sports and recreation fee bubble and the campus and recreation outdoor fee. You'll notice them up. Oh, can we bring back the screen share so everyone can see that? I'm sorry. Oh, did you want to talk on these two?
Yep, these ones you just are informational. You don't need to actually vote. Yep.
Cool, cool. Sorry to cut you off. But yeah, these are just informational items. These are paying off a debt that we made in order to get the sports dome as well as our outdoor facility fee. These are not ones that we particularly get to vote on or get to say on. This is something that was decided in previous years, but they're just informational items that contribute to the overall total there. So worth bringing up here. So moving right. Oh yeah, are there any questions on this? I do. Seeing none, we'll move right along to our resolution. This resolution is to move the Quiet Reflection Lounge to CSU 256. This was motioned by President Zelmer and seconded by Vice President Ibrahim. Other way around. Motioned by Vice President Ibrahim, seconded by President Zelmer. Vice President Ibrahim, would you like to speak on this motion?
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. Well, here we are again. This is not new topic. If you have been in Senate last couple of years, Reflection Spaces has been on the student government's platform for a while. We all know that Spaces is a closet. It's the middle of the hallway. It's an open door, and there is a music playing over it. Nobody want to hear Justin Bieber playing while they're trying to reflect. This is a student basic need. We should have a space for students to reflect without them getting interrupted every minute. We have a student population that is going back and forth between classes to find a reflection in a quiet places in their dorm because we don't have one for them here. We should have a space for them, and I yield to my second, or if there's any questions.
Thank you very much. First we'll go to the second and then we'll go to questions.
Yep, so did you send out the other PDF I sent you earlier today? Or not?
No, I was not able to, I'm sorry.
No worries. So in here you'll see in the Be It Further Resolved, I'll share my screen again since this was referenced. So this task force was created by, under President Davenport, so this is pre-President Inch, and under Andrew Trenny and Arnavi Maltari's administration to look into the reflection space. So like Vice President Ibrahim said, this has been a discussion for quite some time. It kind of goes over some of the background on it. The space was established in 2010. You can see on the sign it says a quiet reflection space, so that's the big concern. This year, I was at Students United, I was Vice Chair of Students United this year, but the year before when I was the speaker, and even the year before that, this was still a topic of conversation about getting it into a quiet, closed-door area. In the second part, you'll see there are just some recommendations. So the first recommendation they came up with was USHID's guidelines, so giving the space a purpose. That way we make sure people aren't like going in there to like not reflect or like use the space how it was meant to be used. So that was one of the recommendations. And then like who it's made for, which is for students, and so on. As you can see in the Be It Further Resolved clause, it talks about recommendation 2 on here. So you can see, here I'll zoom in a little bit, that the recommendations include a fully enclosed area comprised of 4 walls and a door to provide privacy, eliminate visual distractions, and aid in reducing outside noise. An area large enough to accommodate 15 to 25 simultaneous users. Although CSU 256 is questionable on if it could hit that many people, the reason when we have walked around CSU so many times for this one, we were looking for spaces. When it comes to closed door spaces, there's not many spaces that would meet this requirement. And when in discussions about, are we looking at the Centennial Student Union or elsewhere, the Student Union is the top priority because it's the student space. Our fees go into this building. Beyond that, this is the gathering place for students. The last thing we'd want is a student who needs to use the reflection space every day or multiple times a day to have to go into an academic building somewhere else across campus to use it. This building is home to all of our student serving areas, or at least most of them, especially like the offices that serve different student populations. The reflection space should be included in that as well. Ceiling lights with dimmers, movable privacy partitions, so on, so forth. The big part of why we chose 256 as well is the adjacent foot washroom and other wash station. There is a foot washing space right now by the reflection space that is in the hallway. That was an old janitor's closet, so the plumbing just worked out perfect because it's a low plumbing area. The reason that foot washing space was put in because people were washing their feet in the bathrooms and it would get a little messy with water all over the floors. So that's why they instituted a foot washing space. We didn't want the argument for why there shouldn't be a room to be because there's no foot washing space somewhere we'd like, so we chose the room next to the foot washing area. Beyond that, we know that this is a room on campus that is used for meetings. We do have a Zoom license and we've all gotten used to online meetings, so I think that if you can't get a room for a meeting, you should use Zoom instead. And that this space is for students. We pay for this building, so it is critical that we are able to use it in the way that our students see fit. Also, Ibn, do you want to share anything about the petition? Okay. And we have been meeting with different student groups to collect feedback as well, and have been working on a petition. I also referenced a proposal. I'm going to be honest, the proposal's not done. So it's just like to make it kind of look pretty and give some more rationale beyond just the resolution. But I will make sure this is sent out. I sent it to Storm this morning, but she didn't have time to send it out, so that's fine. And it also just includes some other places. Some thoughts have been brought up about an outdoor space. We're in Minnesota, and outdoor space is not feasible for a year-long reflection space. I would not want to be outside right now. I yield, I think, back to...
Yes, I just have one more comments to add on that. Yes, we do have about 160 student signatures who are supporting this and want a space that is closed door and bigger than where it's at right now. So I yield, or if do you guys have any questions?
Thank you very much. So, since this is being introduced today, we can talk about it and ask some questions now, and then we'll come back and vote on it next week. Do I see questions? Senator Destin?
Not a question.
You have a discussion? We're going to hear questions first, and then we can go to that.
Are you able to share that in Teams by any chance? The
this
report that you just shared. Yes.
Yeah. I can't reply all to the email, unfortunately, since it's a BCC. I will add it to Teams. Yeah. So I apologize that it was not included when the agenda was originally sent out. It should have gotten out sooner. I thought I had included it, but I didn't.
Thank you very much. Another question from Senator Ziegler.
I don't have a question. I would just like to say I'm very much so in favor of this. This is something that a lot of people have been working on for a long time, and with that, I motion to expedite.
I would like to. I was gonna say we're doing questions now, but I didn't see any further questions, so I'll move us into a discussion period and entertain the motion to expedite then. You're good. You're like freaking out. You're fine. And then I'll come back to your discussion point too, since we're moving into a discussion. But there was a motion to expedite. Do I have a second? I see a second from Senator Mesta. I'm gonna take that one.
And once the proposal's all done, I'm gonna get that done tonight. We'll send it out to everyone. It doesn't stray from this resolution. It talks about the Centennial Student Union. Sorry,
go for it.
It talks about the Centennial Student Union as well as like the rationale why the student union, which is included in here and what we just described, and then it'll include the other parts. It just goes like a little bit more in depth about the that, but I will send it out to all the senators before we send it on to anyone else. So if you all had any concerns, you can feel free to respond to that if people are concerned about expediting for that reason. But yeah, I'll make sure to get that out tonight. second.
Okay, then in that case, we got a second. I'm just gonna do this by asking if there's any dissent before we go in. Yep, we have a dissent. So we're gonna move into a discussion period on the motion to expedite. Do I have discussion points on a motion to expedite? I'm gonna first offer the opportunity to the main motioner if you would like to make a discussion point. All right, then I'll go to the second.
Yeah, I think if we expedite the process now, we can get the ball rolling on getting this room actually accessed, not just be in that hallway where any student can just walk through, keep talking, and disturb a lot of our students that pray. There's been a concern that I've been talking to with students across the many months that I've been here, and it's been that same concern. They don't feel like that place is enough for them to feel warranted to be in that place. Moving into 256 gives them that access. And I think if we expedite now, we can get that room and get that process rolling.
Thank you very much. Senator Wing?
So the reason I dissented is not because I'm opposed to this motion. I just feel like there's ways that we can make it stronger. Especially, I mean, this is, in the be it further resolved, we are stating that it's expected to be fully implemented by the end of the fall semester. So I feel like if we took,
Academic year, so it'd be the end of next year.
The end of next year, sorry. The wording was a little strange. But given that we're looking at such a large time frame, I think given one extra week to like actually discuss it a little bit further and possibly strengthen the resolution before sending it on, I think that that would be beneficial just to make our case even better. So that's why I dissented.
Thank you very much. I saw Senator Dominic, not anymore. All right, Vice President Ibrahim.
We can still make a change, like we can vote on today and then we can still make a change of the resolutions. Like
Not to the resolution if we vote on it.
Well, if
Just
the resolution is passed,
proposal.
we can't change it. It would be, we could take amendments today, but yeah.
Yes, that's what I was
Senator
trying to
Roberts.
I
got you.
I suppose this is a question that I have. If we do expedite, would that make it easier to get, so first off, it's the question and then I have a little bit of a statement, but would that make it easier to get it for the meet and confer? And is that a pretty good reason to expedite? And then the second thing,
Before we move on to the second thing, as the main motioner, would you like to respond to that question?
I'll yield to Emma.
Okay.
So we've already placed it on the Meet and Confer agenda since Meet and Confer. We had our meeting on Tuesday about Meet and Confer. The Meet and Confer meeting is next week, Thursday. So we knew that we'd have that 2 weeks to be able to discuss it. Also, we've been discussing this item with administration this entire year, including like Centennial Student Union groups as well. So we have, like, there has been discussions held. We also had it on the last Meet and Confer agenda. We were like, anything we should keep in mind? And then they all just stared at us and no one gave us any things. I also let them know they could offer up their office and no one did.
And your second thing?
And the second point is, with the end of the year being here, the longer that we wait on this, the more likely it just gets forgotten over the summer. There's been a long history of where end of the year resolutions just get forgotten by administrators in the past. It's not, faulting administrators. It's really easy to forget about things when there's a big summer gap in there and there's a lot of things that go on, and also a different student government, potentially, radically different student government, different beliefs, and things can be forgotten as a result of some of those differing views that will come as a result. So the earlier we get this, I think the earlier that we maintain what we really wanted to achieve as a Senate. So I'm supporting the expedited process here.
Senator Destin.
Yeah, I tap into the sentiments of Senator Roberts. I really do believe that having this expedited is important because, first of all, this is a student basic needs. There should be no reason why students should not have a secure reflection space where they can not be distracted. I've had conversations with a lot of students, and I heard a concern from one student who was in the reflection space, not even knowing that was a reflection space. Sorry, he was there and then just making a phone call and doing something like you could do in a regular place. And then he felt guilty when some students came to actually use the space. He didn't know that he was violating their beliefs and their religious practices. So I really do believe that place is not the best place to be, and in order to get this process started, we have to expedite to make more time for administration to consider it. So I support the idea.
Thank you very much. Senator Derbenji?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I'm definitely in support of expediting it today, and also considering the fact that most students have to be there at the same time, if that makes sense, in the reflection area, makes it kind of crucial because there are many people at the certain times of the day when you pass the reflection area. So I believe there is no reason to postpone it. I also believe that the resolution is strong enough. So.
Senator Wing.
Just one final point that I had, and it's mainly regarding CSU 256. We all know how small that space is. That's why I'd just like another week so that we can further discuss other potential locations within the CSU. And I understand that that's the conversation that's been ongoing. I really don't think that 256 is the solution here. And I know that we leave it pretty open-ended, but I just would like to have a little bit stronger wording regarding which space we're actually looking at.
President Zomer.
So in the proposal, we described some other spaces. Other spaces we were looking at. Unfortunately, space in the CSU is limited, right? 256 is right next to the foot washing space, which was why we were looking at that specific place. The other one was 119, which is down by the LGBT Center. That is a smaller location. Other than that, there is the space by the Starbucks. However, if anyone's had a meeting in that room, it's windows, so it's almost louder than the, it's just as loud, if not louder at times, than the Heritage Room, which I love the Heritage Room, but it does get really loud if there's anything going on around it. So those were the other spaces we looked at. Same with the meeting rooms that are like down this hallway. What are those, like 201 to 4? Those get really loud with the music downstairs. So we were really trying to be conscious of the quiet area. Also the room, I'm not sure on the exact memberships, or the exact measurements, but it is about the size of the current space we have. We also think that it's a key first step to get a physical room. And then, if a CSU expansion were to come or we were to find a larger space in the future, that it'd be a lot easier with a physical room to advocate for a larger physical room than to go for a really big room on campus and not have a space. Even at one point we did discuss the library, but the last thing we want is people having to go all the way out of their way to need to go somewhere. We think since it's in the CSU now, it's important it stays there. But yeah, so we did look at some bigger spaces. The issue with bigger spaces, they're all noisy, which kind of defeats the purpose of moving it into a room because our argument against the hallway is that's noisy, if that makes sense.
Thank you. I appreciate that point of clarification. Do we have any other discussion points specifically on the expedition? Yes.
Question. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay. So what is the current capacity of the CSU? You said 256?
I'm going to actually ask that we move that question until after we're done with the topic on expediting or not expediting, because that sounds like a main motion type of question. This keeps coming up. So then in that case, do we have any other any other discussion points or questions on expediting? On expediting. Seeing none, let's go to a vote on expediting. Raise of hands and placards. And then can I see those? Yep. Thank you. All right, all those in favor of expediting, I assume that's why hands are up, but just to clarify. All right, thank you. And then all of those opposed to expediting, thank you. And thank you. All right, all abstentions. Yes. 3. That count doesn't make it. I think they just lowered their hands quickly, but yeah. Thank you very much. Okay, then in that case, we are going to expedite this on a vote of 24 to 1 to 1. So this is going to be expedited, and we are going to vote on this today. Returning to our discussion on the main motion, Senator Dustin, will you please restate your question?
Right. My question was, what is the current capacity of this space, and how have we have we considered if it can accommodate the students that need it? Just to understand a little bit more.
Of 256?
Yeah, the room that we want to use for this purpose.
Could you, as the main motioner, like to respond? Or?
So what is the capacity of that space?
256?
Yeah.
Is Mark here? Do you know the room capacity?
I think we have 18 chairs in that room. Of course, there's a big table in there as well with the chairs, so if that big table wasn't there, you know, the 18 doesn't mean how many you'd fit more than that in there potentially. It depends if people are on the floor or what they're doing. I think that the other thing had, we want furniture in there and some other things, so it's hard for me to say exactly how many people Destin would be able to be in there, but the present capacity is for 18 chairs with that big rectangular table.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Senator Wing. Oh, then I will yield to Senator Roberts, who uses they, them pronouns.
Alrighty, so the reason why I'm supporting this today has to do with a lot of experiences that I've seen as a graduate teaching assistant. I have had a number of students over these past 2 years who have either ended up having to go find a quiet space in an academic room and then get interrupted in the middle of trying to pray, and that's absolutely devastating for them. It's devastating to students who get interrupted when they're just trying to simply express their beliefs for what they believe in. This is also seen every single day whenever I pass the reflection space that we have currently in the CSU, where you can see it like on their faces when people are talking. It's just like it's hard for them to focus on their prayers, focus on what's really important to them in that moment. So we absolutely need to have a space. This is something that students have been talking about for years, and really just absolutely need a real quality closed door space that will always be quiet and feel like a safe place for them. So I see that we just absolutely need to support this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Wing.
So I am also here to voice my support, but I also have a question about the flexible space. Just out of curiosity, if it had been considered, what about converting the flexible programming space down in the main or the bottom level of the CSU? Just size-wise, I feel like that would be more appropriate. I wasn't sure if that had been given consideration.
I can yield to Steve a second.
So, if we're really caught up on the room number, we haven't discussed this, so pop off on me if you would like. We could drop the CSU 256 and say to a closed door space in the Centennial Student Union. And then in the proposal, we can rank preferences. We also just discussed in the be it resolved to change the last sentence, so the quiet reflection space, CSU 256, or another closed door location in the Centennial Student Union. Are you okay dropping 256? We could just say another, or to a closed door space in the Centennial Student Union, and then we can list out some options in the proposal. We wanted to drop proposal since I do feel bad passing something that talks about a proposal that's incomplete. So we're gonna drop the word proposal from the resolution. That way we aren't passing something that refers to something that's not done. So I'll wordsmith that real quick. And
Does
then
the main motioner accept that amendment to drop proposal?
Yes.
Just checking.
Yes,
Okay,
and
cool.
can I ask?
Yes, and then we're gonna go to Senator Schwab because they've been waiting.
Sorry. The priority, it's a bigger spaces that has like walls and doors. The reason we picked that room was because it's next to the washroom. And if we can find other spaces that's closed door and it's bigger than where it's at right now, then that would be good. I just wanted to make that point. Okay.
Senator Sharaf.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So I will support the motion.
I still want to
but
add
I'm
to
just
that.
curious to the
Okay, go ahead.
motioner if you were considering changing the name before Quiet Reflection Lounge.
Were you considering changing the name of the Quiet Reflection Lounge as part of this motion, or as a separate motion, or at all?
No.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you.
sorry.
I would like to.
No, it's currently called the Reflection Lounge, but on the sign it does say Quiet Reflection Lounge space. So that's why I threw quiet in there we were doing it to prove a point. Yeah. So that's why quiet's listed everywhere because it says it on the sign.
Senator Destin.
So question for Idme. I heard you said
you could consider possible other areas. So in the instance where there are other places in mind, are you also concerned about the washroom location to be close by, or you don't mind?
If it's in the CSU, it's fine. What our thing is like we want that space to be in CSU because there's already a washroom that it's Creighton's here. Okay. So we just want a space that's on CSU. It could be the first floor, second floor, basement. We don't have a as long as there's a space that's bigger than the where it's at right now. We don't have what's the word preference. It just has to be in CSU. We don't want our students to go into library or different other buildings to wash their do their washroom located here and do their washing whatever, and then go to a whole another building to walk, if that makes sense. I yield.
Go right ahead, President Summer.
So the be it resolved, Edmund and I, behind Stormy, said, so the be it resolved will now say the 90th Student Government of Minnesota State University Mankato urges the University and Centennial Student Union to move the Quiet Reflection space to CSU 256 or another closed-door space in the Centennial Student Union.
And this is accepted by the main motioner and the second?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, then that is the new official wording. Do we have any further discussion points? Any further discussion points? Seeing none, we will go to a vote on this item as it was expedited. So, all of those in favor of passing the resolution to move the Quiet Reflection Lounge to CSU 256 as amended, please raise your hands or placards at this time. Thank you very much. All right, on another, sorry, I was about to announce it because it was 26, but I'll call for them anyways, in case I miscounted. Are there any opposed? Any opposed? Yeah. And any abstentions? Any abstentions? Seeing none, then on a unanimous vote, we will pass the motion to move the Quiet Reflection space. Thank you very much. All right, we do not have any old business. I will now open it up for announcements. Do we have any announcements? Senator Wing.
So just also a reminder to talk to your constituents, get them to go out and vote on the 10th and the 11th. The polls will open at 8 a.m. on the 10th and close at 6 p.m. on the 11th. Also, I forgot to mention it in my senator report, but also a huge shout out to our choir department, who just received an endowment starting in 2027 for $2,000 a year that they potentially will be using for travel and other event choir events here in the future. So.
Thank you very much. Senator Mesta.
So I have two announcements. Announcement one, April 6th, there's two events going on. Our immigration attorney event is coming up, so please reach out to Amber, get students to meet with their immigration attorneys. I know there's been some students that have been trying to reach out outside of that meeting date, but that is a time where he's going to be in person to actually meet with students. Other event on April 6th is the Latinx Student Night. We actually have a reservation table for student government, so if any of you guys want to come, attend the event, please talk to one of the exec members.
Thank you.
April 6th.
Oh, thank you. President Sommer.
So the President Inch, will be having a student town hall Monday, April 3rd, so this upcoming Monday at 11 a.m. It's over Zoom. All the posts and everything has been up on our Instagram for a minute. So please go and register. This is a great time. They will be having a retreat, like his cabinet will be having a retreat in May to talk about their priorities and things. So this is like this would be the time to be able to come in, share some hot takes beyond, like, let's say a resolution's not gonna get through by the end of the year, or you're like, I'm not gonna have time to write it or anything. Make sure you go there, share it, or if you have anything else you want to share, please show up. You're the student representatives, and this is a great time to be able to bring up things directly to the president. Beyond that, there is another event we've been invited to as a group. a class on campus. I couldn't find the email. We'll be hosting the movie Color of Care on April 4th, which is the Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. I will find that. I'll send it to Storm to send out to you all. It's a movie premiere, as well as there will be some discussion about it. It's about how the COVID pandemic and care structures affects people of color, specifically how the pandemic further harmed them as well. And beyond that, there is a new theater show, if you didn't bring this up already, a new theater show. I'll be going on Wednesday with my grandma, so if you wanted to go the same night as me, you could. And with that, I yield. Oh, and if there's anything else with Students United, please, please, please come talk to me, like, tonight if you want me to help you out with your application. I think you all should apply, or at least one of you. I yield.
Senator Wing.
One more thing. So 1 week from today is also the town hall for the student activity fee. That's going to be at noon next Wednesday. That'll also be our student gov debates for the election the following week. So just keep that on your calendars. Get your constituents out there if they have any questions about the student activity fee. That way, that discussion can be had.
Thank you very much. Any other announcements, John Bulcock?
Thank you, Senator Wing, or Commissioner Wing, I guess, in that capacity, for mentioning those upcoming forums. The one thing for the Election Commission that was not announced is that the deadline for applying or submitting candidacy application for anybody running for a Senate seat or a quarter commission is Monday. So we do have that coming up. So please notify anybody who you know of that. And then I'm going to put on my student activities hat now for a little bit and talk about some of the things coming up in our different areas. So obviously there may have been some people in the room in attendance at the Josh Peck event last night, so that was a success. We also have coming up next Tuesday, whatever the day of the 3rd is, I can't remember what day of the week that is. Is that Monday? Taste of Mankato Bingo, sponsored by Student Events Team. That's taking place at 7 o'clock. And then the following week is a big week. Let's just be honest, April is crazy anywhere on campus. And so Greek Week is starting at the same time as the student government elections on April 10th and 11th. On the 10th, there will be a cookout around the lunch hour, free hot dogs, chips, and drink for anybody who stops by, no strings attached. On the 11th, we are doing a canned food drive, and that 11th is also the day of the spring concert sponsored by Student Events Team. So you may have heard the announcement that IAZ will be the artist performing on the 11th. It is a ticketed event. It is free for students, but you do need a ticket to be able to get in. So please get your ticket ahead of time. On the 12th, we have our cardboard boat regatta in the Highland Center pool. And then on the 13th, one of the highlights of the year, or highlights of the Greek Week, is the Lip Sync event. That will be at 6 o'clock in the Ostrander Auditorium, followed by an after party at Applebee's, which is also a benefit night for Dance Marathon or Children's Miracle Network Hospitals. So a portion of the proceeds from every sale that night will go towards Dance Marathon and Mavathon. So that's along with Greek Week. Also on the 10th of April, we have a free farmers market taking place, and those events are always wildly popular as well. So that's just the next couple of weeks. We know April's crazy. There will be more. So hold on to your hats, folks. It's going to be crazy starting next week.
Thank you very much. Brian?
Hello. First off, I want to thank all of you for all your work last week. I wasn't able to attend the meeting and spend the night with you guys, but I did watch a 6-hour video and y'all did an amazing job. And thank you for your work today too. And thank you for your continued support of technology for students now and students in the future. You did a great job. Second thing is I wanted to address the Wi-Fi in the CSU. We do have a Wi-Fi improvement project that's happening this semester. We found out that Armstrong Hall, which is the worst building in the world to try to get Wi-Fi coverage, we worked months on that one trying to make it improve. We still have some issues over there with interference, as well as Clinical Science Building, which is one of our newest buildings, also one that had a tremendous amount of interference. So we worked so hard on that we didn't get to the CSU, which was the next building, and I had to pull my staff off of, my networking staff off of the Wi-Fi improvement project to start working on the Zoom phone project. Good news is that we will get back to that this summer, but we are going to make substantial improvements to the Wi-Fi in this building, and I think you'll be able to notice a significant improvement in reliability and coverage next year. So, but thank you for that feedback. I need to know where there's problems and where we need to work to fix things. So if you do hear of any other problems, let me know. I will stand for questions if you have any.
Yeah, I'll open it up if anyone has questions. Seeing none, thank you. If you ask for questions, you get applause. So, anyone else for announcements? Senator Wing again?
No.
Okay, then in that case, we're gonna go ahead and move out of that into our roll call. I see a motion on the floor.
Motion to waive roll call, given that we were picking up on the hour.
All right, do we have a second? I see a second from Senator Goff. Do we have a dissent? Any dissent? I see a dissent. All right. Motion withdrawn. Okay, then I'm gonna breeze through this real quick. Senator Hart. Thank you. Senator Shroff. Thank you. Congratulations, Senator Wildekainen. Thank you, Senator Wing.
Present.
Thank you, Senator Demenji.
Here.
Thank you, Senator Wynn. Thank you, Senator Bryan.
Here.
Thank you, Senator Roberts.
Here.
Thank you, Senator Rivera.
Here.
Thank you, Senator Goma. Thank you, Senator Nirala. Thank you, Senator Berhanu. Thank you, Senator Tepp. Thank you, Senator Mendez Martinez. Thank you, Senator Destin. Thank you. Senator Zigweed.
Here.
Thank you, Senator Mesta.
Here.
Thank you, Senator Mueller.
Here.
Thank you, Senator Parikh. Thank you, Senator Blanchard.
Here.
Thank you, Senator Goff. Here. Thank you, Senator Speltz.
Here.
Thank you, Senator Royger.
Here.
Thank you, First Mate Andrew.
Here.
Thank you, Speaker Novak. That's me. President Selmer. Here. Thank you, Vice President Ibrahim.
Here.
Thank you. All right, and with that, we are adjourned at 5:58. Let's go.
Yeah.